Hello, welcome to the 11th episode of Rachel Pilcher Writing Workshops Facebook Live. Today our topic is going to be how to deal with rejection. My name is Rachel Pilcher and I think we should go ahead and get started. It is really important whenever you're trying to deal with rejection that, and let me make sure I do preface this is rejection in writing. I did realize whenever I was talking to a couple of people about me doing this episode that it was going to be about rejection, and they were like, oh, is this about dating? I was like, no, it's about writing. That's what we do. Excuse me. I did have cough drops on handy for this time, so I'm hoping that I don't start coughing like a crazy person like I did on the last episode. But so dealing with rejection. The first thing that we really need to talk about when you're dealing with rejection is to focus on why you could be getting this rejection. Issues with your story. So perhaps your, and I did notice, there we go. I keep getting a connection available, connection low, so hopefully I'll keep my connection here. So, as I was saying, perhaps your story wasn't edited very well. It could be that that you wrote a first draft, you thought it was great, and you decided, well, I'm just going to go ahead and send this, and there were a lot of issues that were, punctuation, spelling, grammar. There could be issues with the structure. And there could also be some dialogue issues. I know that I've read a couple of stories where the dialogue just did not seem realistic for the characters that they're having in their story. And one of the other things that could happen is that they're not following the submission guidelines. Following the submission guidelines, that's a big deal. If you leave information out and they've requested it and it's not there, you could very easily have your work just kicked out because you didn't do what they asked for, just the basic stuff. And it could very well be just you chose the wrong font. I don't usually ask for a specific font because I change it to whatever font I want it to be in. But I did just recently submit, just this last week, to a contest. In the contest that I did recently submit to, I specifically submitted the type of story that I submitted because I saw who was judging, and I based the way they write on the story that I chose to submit. So knowing that they're not, they like more gritty stuff. It's not really sentimental work. I did submit a grittier story than I probably would have written had I not known that that particular judge was going to be doing that. And if you have the chance to research the judge or the reviewer, excuse me, or the previous work that was submitted, I know that a lot of writers that I work with that submit their work to literary journals, sometimes, or to writing contests, sometimes they come back and they're like, well, I submitted to this emerging artist thing, but this person who writes for the New Yorker ended up getting it. It's kind of hard to believe that somebody who writes for the New Yorker is an emerging artist. You know, they have more qualifications. They have more big names on their resume than you do, and that could be what it is. And a lot of the reasons why they choose, you know, a writer that may or may not be better than what you are, more promotional aspects to their contest or to their literary journal. If they can say, oh, well, we have this person who writes for the New Yorker or has put work into the New York Observer, of course. I think that just take this to heart right now. How you deal with rejection is you need to not be precious about your work. And what that means is, you know, you're writing this story. This is something that you're putting, you know, your heart and your blood and your sweat and your tears into. But when it comes to putting it out there and trying to get people interested in publishing it, or if it's a screenplay and trying to get it produced, you can't treat this like this is your baby. I'm pausing dramatically there for you. You can't treat this like your writing is your baby, because after you hit send, it's not really yours anymore, especially it's not a baby. It is a full-fledged adult. It's graduated. You have to kick it out of the nest and let it go do its thing. So, the thing with that would be then that you have to just accept the fact that your baby didn't get chosen, and know that you are the adult. And you have to take the fact that your baby didn't make it this time, but maybe next time they will, as just how it is. And if you have to work on your baby to make your baby look better, then do that. But don't be precious with it. Don't think that what you've written is the absolute most perfect, most beautiful thing ever, because even I go back and look at things that I've published, and I see, oh, well, that could probably be fixed. I published a short story last year that I ended up going through to submit to another contest. And I went through and I was able to add another 1,000 words to it. So it obviously wasn't, as perfect as it could have been, because I made the story even better than it was by adding 1,000 words to it. You don't always have to add, sometimes you have to subtract. But it just depends on what you're doing. So another thing that so you have to pay attention to to who they may know also. But you also have to just make sure that you do not respond back. You take it like an adult and you go with what they have. And if they offer you any kind of a critique, just take what they say, and you can look at it and say, maybe that does need to be fixed. Maybe I need to do this, or not. You can ignore it. You don't have to take a critique. Whenever we have critique group, I don't expect any of my writers that I work with to 100% take what I've said at face value. Now, if I do turn around and end up publishing them, then we work on corrections. So, but at that point, they've been accepted. So, just don't respond back. So, if you're not getting a critique, if they don't respond back to you, then don't turn around and lash out or unfollow their page or whatever because you didn't get accepted. I recently submitted some work to a book festival for 2 of my authors, and we didn't get accepted. But, we're young. We still have plenty of time. We'll get there someday. But I didn't turn around and send a dirty letter to them. Well, why didn't you respond back to journals, or if you're submitting to publishers, that your work can be the best that it can be. And if they do give you a critique, that makes it a little bit easier because you can go back to your writing group, which everyone should be part of a writing group somewhere. If you're writing, you need to get in one. But you can go back to your writing group and you can talk to them about what was said and see if they can help you fix it. So that's really all I have today. If there are no questions, or if there's not anything that anybody is interested about saying about this, then feel free, if you're watching this on the replay, to to something much smaller than all of that. It's probably just going to be writing and perfectionism, because a lot of times writer's block comes from trying to make things perfect.